For 2 years, Trump wins the election. Hillary Clinton and her camp comes out and pushes forward a narrative that somehow Russia was involved in destabilizing the election for her and stealing the election away from her. Well, Russia, of course, and Comey and Bernie Sanders and Susan Sarandon and Jimmy Dore and any random person that was walking on the street that particular day that didn't necessarily say something favorable or think favorable about Hillary Clinton had something to do with her losing the election, except for her just losing. Hubris, ego, failure. Creating this narrative of Trump and Russia collusion, the Democratic Party screamed it at the top of their lungs. The media hating Trump because Trump continuously hit the media, fell in line with the narrative that the Democratic Party pushed, and we're off to the races. The main thing that's supposed to give communications to our society went with the resonance that Trump and Russia somehow colluded in order to undermine and sweep the election away from the person who was apparently supposedly was supposed to be given it, Hillary Clinton. Problem. It's been 2 years. They've screamed about this for 2 years. They've had Mueller doing an investigation on this for 2 years. They put up Russian Facebook and Twitter ads as somehow some undermining of democracy, when really this came across as a sad, pathetic attempt of Mueller to just justify his existence. Not to mention the company that's contending that the prosecution wasn't even ready for the case, meaning it was much more likely that the prosecution had no intention of bringing that case because they had no intention to believe that the Russians were going to want their case, their day in court. Manafort gets busted, and Manafort eventually acquiesces. Now, here's the catch. None of this has to do with Russia collusion. The Manafort case was over something that took place years, predated Russia, predated Trump by decades. None of this. The original inciting event that they say existed, nobody has been able to show that it existed. And yet, it trickles and drags on. Now, to some degree, this was used to delegitimize Trump, but it was also used to attack the left. You had a populist backlash on the left and the right. And in this populist backlash, you can use this figment of Russia to try to attack these various sources that are not necessarily liking the natural order of things or the current order of things in regards to the establishment or the established order of things. My point is this. In the case, Manafort was supposed to be working with Mueller. Mueller is dissatisfied with the information that Manafort has because, let's be honest, Manafort doesn't have any information. The stuff that they hit him on was stuff that, again, predated this trial. Predated this trial. Take a look at this. This is ABC News. Tensions rising between Mueller and Manafort over the level of cooperations, sources say. Talks between Special Counsel Robert Mueller and former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort have grown increasingly tense over Manafort's apparently lack of cooperation in the investigation, according to multiple sources familiar with the matter. Or he just doesn't have anything to give. That's like somebody being tortured, and it's like, I'm going to keep you here all day if you don't tell me what I want to know. It's like, but fucker, I don't have any information to give you. So yeah, we're going to be here all day, and no, you're not going to get any information. Regardless. Prosecutors from Mueller's office have asked Manafort about a wide range of topics in nearly a dozen meetings since Manafort agreed to cooperate in September, sources said, but the Mueller team is not getting what they wanted one source with knowledge of the discussions. Isn't it great to have these anonymous sources? You just have to trust the news agency that the source is credible. I love that. I love that. That's totally trustworthy. The consequences of failing to fully cooperate could be dire when it comes with Manafort to be sentenced. Should it be judged that the defendant has failed to cooperate fully, has intentionally given false or misleading or incomplete information or testimony, the defendant will not be released from the pleas of guilty, but the government will be released from its obligation. His plea agreement reads, meaning if Manafort doesn't give information that Mueller wants, to the degree that Mueller wants, the prosecution can be released from the plea agreement and they can be free to go after him full bore. It's a threat. It's a sword of Damocles that can hang over his head. Cooperate or else. Now, you tell me, how does this, what's the incentive here? What does this incentivize you to do? Ultimately, it seems like they're trying to get information on Trump and they're trying to threaten him in order to get that information on Trump. You better talk or else I'm going to punch you in the balls if you don't talk. Tell me what I want to know about Trump. Tell me what I want to know about Trump. Where's Cavaletti hide my girls? Where's Cavaletti hide my girls? The catch here is Manafort. The wild part about this is Manafort was working in the Russian government. With the Ukrainian government. But he was working with the Ukrainian government in the capacity of trying to get the Ukraine closer to the European Union. He was trying to strengthen the ties between Ukraine and the European Union, not Russia. Not Russia. And even in some of these other shady figures, none of this stuff makes a connection between Trump and Russia. In fact, let's go to Buzzsaw. Buzzsaw Matei talks about this. I like Buzzsaw. Right here. There's a widespread supposition that Manafort's dealings in the Ukraine make him a prime candidate for collusion with Moscow, but that stems from the mistaken belief that Manafort promoted Kremlin interests during his time at Kiev. The opposite appears to be the case. The New York Times recounts that Manafort's pressed the Ukrainian Prime Minister Viktor Yanukovych, oh fuck's sake, Minister Viktor Yanukovych, to sign the agreement with the European Union that could link the countries closer to the West and lobby for Americans to support Ukrainian membership. If that picture is accurate, then Manafort's activities in the Ukraine during that period for which he has been indicted were diametrically opposed to the Kremlin's goals. Meaning Kremlin wanted the Ukraine closer to Russia, not closer to the European Union. Understand what's being said here. The New York Times has even reported this. This is what's true. These guys are acting like the guy's some kind of Russian plant. He was working against the interests of Russia in the Ukrainian government. This is what we know to be true up to this point. People don't like to believe that because they want to believe that he's some kind of Kremlin agent. That's not the case. Right here. The FBI was able to charge Flynn because he had concrete evidence that his statements to them were false. Wiretaps of his conversations with Kislyak. But these calls offers nothing of collusion. As the Washington Post reported, FBI agents who reviewed the calls with Kislyak had not found any evidence of wrongdoing or illicit ties to the Russian government. There's no collusion. Whatever he's trying to screw Manafort on, meaning twist the screws on, it is possible that Manafort just doesn't have the information Mueller wants. I'll punch you in the balls if you don't tell me something bad about Trump. Here's another one. This brings us to the last major indictment, and the first one to include Russian nationals. 13 Russians and 3 companies accused of running a U.S.-aimed social media campaign out of St. Petersburg-based internet research agency. But now, The details are well known. About 100,000 was spent on Facebook ads, more than half of that after 2016 vote. The bulk of the remaining 46,000 in ads ran during the primaries. The majority of the ads did not even reference the election and got little traction. Now, mind you, even with the indictment from Mueller, nothing in that indictment makes collusion. The argument that they put out was that Russia was trying to divide America by talking about all sorts of stuff. Hillary and Trump. Inflaming issues. Even by their own logic, there was no collusion. Meaning, it's possible that what he's trying to get Manafort to give him, Manafort may just not have. In which case, tensions are increasing. I'm just saying. Just saying. Of the indicted firms is challenging the case in court, accusing Mueller of inventing a make-believe crime in order to justify his own existence. That's true. And indict Russians, any Russian. Whether they're troll farms indicted as make-believe or not, Mueller has yet to indict anyone, yet alone a Russian, for Russiagate's underlying crime, the theft of the Democratic Party emails. And more than a year after the accused Russian government is carrying out, intelligence officials have yet to produce a shred of proof. Take their word for it. Take their word for it. And let's go to Aaron Busso. I gave that part. It has been obvious from jump that Manafort is an unlikely Russian conspirator, given that zero charges concerning Russia, zero evidence from his wiretapping, and the fact that he's worked against Russian interests in the Ukraine. 3. But don't mind me. I've only been right every step of the way so far. Keep inviting consistently wrong conspiracy theorists to do your news shows and op-ed pages. I love that. I love that. It's been obvious to those paying attention that the dominant Russiagate narrative as Manafort served criminal interests in the Ukraine were false. With today's superseding indictment, it'll be impossible to argue otherwise because Mueller backs it up. Mueller reports that a member of Manafort's group met with none other than President Obama and Vice President Biden in 2013 and delivered the message of not letting a Russian steal Ukraine from the West. Odd messages from a supposed Kremlin stooge. And another example, on May 16, 2003, another member of the Habsburg group lobbied in the United States for Ukraine. The Habsburg group member accompanied the country's prime minister in the Oval Office and met with President and Vice President of the United States, as well as the United States officials in the executive and legislative branch. Manafort was not a Russian plant. That's the point I'm trying to make here. That's the point Aaron Matei is trying to make here. And them squeezing the screws on him to try to get anything out of him in order to try to hit Trump. He may just not have what they're looking for. But keep squeezing. Maybe you get some blood out that turnip at some point. Let's see. And just the voter. Clearly, if Trump, Russia, Jimmy Dore, Susan Sarandon swung the election, why did politicians bother campaigning with simple voters? They should have just pandered to Russia, Trump, Jimmy Dore, and Susan Sarandon. I know. Who knew Susan Sarandon had the Thanos glove where he had all powerful? That's insane. I'm just waiting for the movie Ferris Mueller's Day Off. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Alright, I'm not going to keep this one long. I'm going to end this one here because it is 4:40 in the morning. I saw this one and I was like, Aaron Buzzsaw, man. He cuts through this stuff like nobody's business. Alright, I'm going to end it here. You guys have a good one. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support the content through Patreon or PayPal. As my wife say, even $1 helps this show keep ticking along because ultimately this is your show. This is your content. think so. Whoa.